We are going to work in conjunction with the ANA, Afghan National Army, and the ANP, Afghan National Police. And we're going to help them learn to protect themselves. So we need to partner with them. That was a struggle all on its own.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong there. I mean, just the green on blue incidents alone, they had a pretty major one, that particular unit, the follow-on deployment, to where, 2 kids were killed, one out of the tower and then the sergeant on the guard. That was in 2012. That was the mission afterwards, to where they actually got sent back out there. Not the same region, but I mean, literally you could see the mountains in the distance. It wasn't that far off of like where they had been previously. And I just talking with some of the guys during the interviews and everything, and hearing about some of the things about that deployment as well. I kind of asked them, I'm like, what were your thoughts when they told you guys you were going right back to the same region? And they, that struggle right there alone must have been just massive getting on the plane.
Tell me about there was a scenario you described in the book where you're in convoy and a U.S. truck rear-ended an ANP.
Yes. That was actually Afghan commandos. So that was they were in a Hilux. We were coming back from this mission it just went forever. It was a joint mission with the Brits, and I want to say it was I put the unit in there. Just, I'm so unfamiliar with British command hierarchy and stuff, and I keep forgetting, but it was Royal Marines and stuff that we were doing the mission with, along with, a slew of, this convoy was huge. It was like 60 vehicles or something like that. So it was our company, a bunch of Afghan commandos, Afghan police, and we're coming back from this thing, and everybody's been up forever. And it was 72 hours at this point for me. And we're coming back, and, I nodded off at the wheel. Everybody in the truck, just one by one, they start going down and stuff. And even the TC next to me, he's like, "Hey man, you're going to be all right." Like I'm just nodding off, and I'm like, "It's cool. I got this. I've never fallen asleep at the wheel. We'll be all right. I'll just pop a window." But after 72 hours, your body just starts telling you, like, it just shuts down. I had no choice in the matter. And it was like I woke up at the last second, right before we impacted the truck in front of us. And it wouldn't matter. I had 2 feet in, locked them up, and hit that Hilux to where it was like Afghan bowling pins. These guys went just flying. And of course, my first reaction was like, holy crap, like we're in an up armored Humvee. We just crumpled the whole back end of this truck that was full of people. I probably just killed somebody, if not, majorly hurt someone. And as we're going through the assessment of the situation, and everybody was just woken up, and the gunner has a print on his head from where the 50 cal cracked him, and things start going crazy. Things start getting heated, and the Afghan, their particular commander of that group right there, starts lining them up, and they all start racking weapons pointed at our truck. In our truck, we've got the 50 pointed back down, and the gunner, his legs start shaking with the adrenaline and everything. And he's like, "Hey, what are we doing here? What are we doing?" To the truck TC, which was one of the squad leaders, and he's radioing in what happened. And the Afghan commander comes over, he draws his pistol. And the one thing that they use in Afghanistan, people, a rifle means nothing to them, but you pull out a pistol, they use pistols for executions. And this guy just comes over and he wraps his pistol on the side window of the Humvee. And I have this like, oh man, and he motions for me to get out, and Sergeant Ackers, which is the TC, looks over me and he's like, "Do not under any circumstances get out of this freaking vehicle." And, I've got the truck at this point now. I'm aiming up the situation. I'm like, I've already dropped us into 4 high. and I'm waiting because I'm like, am I going to go through these Afghans? Because that's the quickest way to take out the amount. And we're starting to, it just got to the point where it was super heated. And I was able to see in doing the interviews and stuff and hearing from the other guys, because we didn't even know until much later who had diffused the whole situation. But it was one of our Afghan interpreters that kind of saved the day later on. His name was Gucci. He came in and knew exactly what stance to take on how to be pious enough to be like, we're extremely sorry. He's going to be severely reprimanded, and make it, play the dog and pony in a way to where it was acceptable enough to them to where it wasn't going to escalate. And once everything was said and done, thankfully, there was one guy with a broken leg, and that was it. Everything else was just bumps and scrapes. I still felt absolutely horrible about it. Never happened again. But what it could have turned into could have been something much worse, and that was the Mexican standoff. I was even asked, like, why, right?
Thank goodness you had that terp. In fact, that was the commando's terp, or was that yours?
So that was
you had before that. There was another guy,
yes,
who was more like the FNG, barely speak his own language.
And that's the reason for how we go about getting the interpreter system and stuff, or how they kind of work it out. But there's so many different dialects and so many different languages that are based in Afghanistan. So where he might be from the northern region, and of course they're going to bring these guys down because they're like, well, we don't want somebody operating as an interpreter in the same area to where they live, because that's
right.
They're just going to snatch their family up because everybody knows everybody. And then they're going to start getting inside information, or this guy's going to be compromised because that's just how they work.
Mm-hmm. I can just imagine the interpreter. He's going to be whipped. He'll be demoted. Also, Commander, I've heard you're very well endowed.
And this is the same, but I mean, this is the group that we had to work with, to where, I had mentioned this too, is the compound we were staying in. There was two people at the gate that got in a heated discussion about something, and one of them mentioned a lewd comment about the other's sister, and he killed the guy. He shot him right in the face, and these are two gate guards. And I couldn't ever see that happening in the U.S. military, but for them, in their culture and everything, it was just, hey, he made a slur against my sister and everything else, and it was just accepted by them. Well, going to play stupid games. And I was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me.